Hi boys, I am in the car, gonna go somewhere, and I'm listening to this.
BOP-led investigation, so they are going to try to assert
Meanwhile,
the
oh yeah, the purpose of this video
privilege,
is because I'm driving my
preventing
mom's
disclosure
car,
of law
and
enforcement
there's pills
techniques
in
and
here, and
procedures,
they're not
and
mine. I don't
protecting law
take these
enforcement
pills.
personnel, safeguarding the privacy of individuals
That one
involved
looks like
in
an
an ongoing
antibiotic.
investigation.
This one looks
Finally,
like
with
a
respect
migraine
to
pill.
Exhibit A, the prosecution team declaration, the government
Excedrin.
provides information requested by the court, but in so doing does not waive any applicable privilege,
You are not
including law
supposed to
enforcement
drive
privilege
if
and
you have a
deliberative
migraine or a
process
headache
privilege.
or any of that. If you take
The government
any of
remains
those
available.
kind of
Okay,
type
so
of
then
pills,
Exhibit A,
if you
this
are a
is
teenager
Christy Slavik's declaration. I've been
and you're
investigating
taking
this case since 2024.
Tylenol,
I submit
aspirin,
this declaration
any
in
kind
response
of
to the court's
medication,
order,
you're not supposed
based
to
on my
be
personal knowledge,
driving.
based on my discussions with the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York Unit Chief, who directly supervises the
Like
prosecution
those
team,
types of
and the prosecution
medication
of the defendant,
they make you
Supervisor
zone
1.
out.
I have
If
learned
you
that on
are
or
in
about October
pain,
10th,
you shouldn't be
2024,
driving, period.
Bureau of Prisons personnel
That's what I'm
contacted
just saying.
Supervisor 1,
Like,
so her supervisor. So she's saying, all right, Christy Slavik is saying, all right, my supervisor was contacted in October by the Bureau of Prisons and informed
you should
that
be
a Bureau of
driving
Prisons
to
intelligence
enjoy,
analyst,
not
okay,
driving
so that's Investigator 1. He is a Bureau
to
of Prisons intelligence analyst.
run
He had
away
been
or like,
monitoring the defendant's communications from the MDC.
don't abuse driving. That's all I'm saying. Don't abuse driving. So when you're taking all this stuff,
apparent attempts
you're running away from something.
Monitoring,
driving
as
should
well as
be
the
like,
use of coded language.
our ancestors had to get through a lot,
This
and we have
intelligence analyst also
this
talked about
technology.
possible attempts to engage in witness intimidation. The same day, the U.S. Attorney Supervisor
because
requested transactional
this
data,
bullshit
which is
here
the defendant's email and
is
phone
like
contact list,
a waste
and the
of
defendant's
time.
emails from the Bureau of Prisons. Christy Slavik says she served the Bureau of Prisons with a grand jury subpoena for non-attorney phone calls. So she said, I asked only for non-attorney phone calls placed to or from Diddy. Since that time, I've been the member of the prosecution team primarily responsible for liaising with the Bureau of Prisons, including Investigator 1, who is the Bureau of Prisons intelligence analyst. On or about October 13th, 2024, I spoke with this investigator who provided an overview of some of the defendant's calls that he had monitored. Investigator 1 also detailed the unauthorized methods of communications the defendant was using. That's Diddy. Investigator 1 also detailed the, quote, unauthorized methods of communications that Diddy was using, including using other inmates' prison access code numbers, their phone access code numbers, using three-way calling, using third-party messaging services. I spoke with Investigator 1 on several other occasions in October and November 24. Then she talks about planning for
I have this tablet on
based
right
on my
now.
discussions with another U.S. Assistant Attorney, Unit Chief, who does not supervise the prosecution team or otherwise have any involvement in the defendant's prosecution. This was her other supervisor, Supervisor 2. Through that person, I learned that beginning in or around June 2024, maybe July 2024, the Bureau of Prisons and the United States Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General began planning a large-scale search of the MDC for contraband. So this had been planned since June or July 2024.
Who's ever behind me?
The Bureau of Prisons and the United States Department of Justice Office, the Bureau of Prisons and the Office of Inspector General, who were responsible for the execution of the MDC suite, hosted a series of status calls with the participating federal agencies, as well as representatives from the Attorney's Office and the SDNY, where we're in charge of this case, and in the Eastern District as well. Supervisor 2 was present on these calls. Okay, so she's saying the Supervisor 2 is the one who knew about this, and as we're telling you up here, he is not a supervisor of this prosecution team, and he does not have any involvement involved in planning the MDC sweep. Further, as described in paragraph 7, prior to October 28th, no member of the prosecution team was even aware of the sweep. Based on my review of the email communications, I learned that on or about October 28th, the Bureau of Prisons and other federal agencies began executing the planned sweep. That day, the sweep was already in progress. Members of the prosecution team then learned of the sweep when Supervisor 2 sent an email to all assistant United States attorneys in the criminal division. The office-wide email informed all of us that the sweep was a pre-planned, large-scale search of the prison in response to persistent contraband issues at the place. It further stated that the MDC sweep was not the result of any specific intelligence or threat. I understood from the office-wide email that it was expected that contraband, which would be like narcotics, weapons, electronic devices, could be seized from defendants, even Diddy, during the sweep, and that assistant U.S. attorneys may be contacted about contraband seized from the defendants in their assigned cases. Based on my conversations with Supervisor 2, who, as described above, is not part of the prosecution team, but had a role in coordinating with those responsible for planning the sweep, when I talked to him, I learned that the sweep continued through November 1st, and that he was at the MDC on or about October 28th, and on or about the morning of the 29th as well, to ensure legal issues involving any USAO SDNY defendants were addressed, and to relay information to the assistant U.S. attorneys who were prosecuting defendants from whom contraband had been seized. Based on my review of public reporting, I am aware that on October 28, 2024, various
Whenever
media
you're doing
outlets
a
reported that there was an interagency operation at the
you have to
MDC
do
where
it
Sean
when the
Combs, the
time's
defendant, was
right.
housed. See, quote, authorities launch interagency operation at federal jail in New York, housing Sean Diddy Combs. Based on my conversations with Supervisor 2, I have learned that on or about the morning of the 29th, following the completion of the first day of the sweep, representatives from both the Bureau of Prisons, federal agencies, and the United States Attorney's Office SDNY, including Supervisor 2, and from the Eastern District, they all met regarding the ongoing execution of the sweep. And they discussed various issues that had arisen, including the amount of time that the search was taking, and a potential search of a unit located in the East Building of the MDC. This is Unit 1. Unit 1 is non-general population where the defendant, along with other inmates, is housed. The agencies conducting the search inquired into, among other things, the position of the U.S. Attorney regarding the potential search of Unit 1. Supervisor 2 had responded that he had understood that the MDC sweep would include searching Unit 1, but that he would confer with senior leadership at the Southern District. Based on my conversations with Supervisor 1 and 2 and my review of the communications, I have learned that on or about October 29, 2024, Supervisor 2 informed Supervisor 1 that the sweep of the west side of the MDC was taking longer than expected, and it was unclear whether the east side would be searched. Supervisor 1 informed Supervisor 2 that in her view, okay, so Supervisor 1 must be a she, okay, so we have a she. Supervisor 1 informed Supervisor 2 that in Supervisor 1's view, the sweep should include the east side of the MDC as planned, in part because of what the prosecution team had learned regarding the defendant's conduct at the MDC. At the request of Supervisor 2, Supervisor 1 conferred with the Southern District senior leadership about the search of the east side of the jail. This is where Diddy was. So they're going back and forth of like, should they search Diddy's cell? Should they not? So was this before he had been searched or after? It's unclear to me. It looks like this is before. The conversation included that the sweep was taking longer than expected and it did not include discussion of Diddy. Thereafter, Supervisor 1, this is the one that works on the prosecution team, again, relayed to Supervisor 2, which is the one that does not work on the prosecution team, that the position of the U.S. Attorney's Office Southern District was the MDC sweep should stick to the original plan and search the entire jail. Supervisor 2 relayed to other personnel present. Okay, so what they're saying here is, yes, there was discussion of Diddy's unit, Unit 1. 1. But he's not the only person over there. And the discussion was simply, don't do anything special based on somebody in that unit or not. If the plan was to search the whole jail before, you need to still search the whole jail. We're not going to change any plans based on anybody's special, no. That's what's being presented to us. I don't know if that's what
The
happened.
whole jail,
That's what the government
BDD
defense
is
is saying
like,
happened.
he's gonna
Based on
take
my
everybody
conversations with
down.
Supervisor
Like,
1
he just
and 2, I've
blackmailed
learned
everybody.
that no Southern District of New York personnel in the U.S. Attorney's Office
Beyonce knows
directed
this.
how the search of Unit 1 would be conducted, or whether any particular area or bunk within Unit 1
Wow.
or any particular inmate's possessions should be searched. In addition, no U.S. Attorney's Office SDNY personnel were aware that Investigator 1 would be involved in the MDC sweep. Okay, so this is very important. This is something that the judge did want to know. None of our personnel were aware that Investigator 1 was going to be involved in this sweep. Other than Supervisor 2, who is not part of the prosecution team, no U.S. Attorney's Office SDNY personnel had even any awareness of the
Right
specific
now I'm on
details
Garden
of the
Grove
MDC
Boulevard
sweep
and
or their
off the
operational
22nd
plan.
Street.
Based on my November 3rd, 2024 communications with Investigator 1, described in paragraph 16, I have learned that Unit 1 was searched on November 1st, 2024.
Golden West.
Based on my conversations with Supervisor 2, I have further learned that neither Supervisor 2 nor any other U.S. Attorney's Office SDNY personnel directed or was aware during the search of Unit 1 that Diddy's bunk area or possessions would be searched in any manner inconsistent with the BOP's overall plan to execute the MDC sweep
I always
to
wanted a
locate
truck. I always
contraband.
wanted a
Neither
horse. My dad
Supervisor
always
2
promised me
nor
a
any
horse.
USAO SDNY personnel directed any of the defendant's possessions to be seized or photographed. And we also were not aware that that had happened until
That is
after
funny.
the search was over. Based on my participation in this prosecution and my conversations with other members of the prosecution team, I know that prior to and during the MDC sweep, no member of the prosecution team communicated with Investigator 1 or any other BOP personnel or federal agents conducting any part of the sweep about the search of Unit 1 until after it was over. On or about November 3rd, following the completion of the sweep, the prosecution team first became aware of Investigator 1's involvement in the sweep through a phone call between Christy Slavic and this Bureau of Prison intelligence analyst, Investigator 1. Investigator 1, at that point on that phone call, after the sweep was already over, informed me that he had spent time in Diddy's unit and checked Diddy's bunk area for contraband, including cell phones. Investigator 1 also informed me that he took photographs of certain of Diddy's papers in an address book. He also provided a high-level overview of the contents of the notes, including the defendant's plans to discredit possible witnesses and find dirt on people. At the conclusion of the November 3rd, 2023 call, I requested that Investigator 1 send the notes directly to the filter team. By email later that day, he confirmed that he had sent the notes directly to the filter team. Okay, so that is the end of that. And again, there was something about Investigator 1, but they didn't even put a redacted on there. They just completely filed under complete and total seal. Now, Agnifilo has responded today, January 19th, and this is what he had to say. He was not very long-winded today. We have reviewed the government's submission and closing affidavits from U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic and Investigator 1. Agnifilo says, we respectfully request permission to respond to these affidavits in further support of Diddy's motion for a hearing by Friday, January 24th. Thank you for your consideration. Okay, so Agnifilo wants to respond, and he's asking the court if he can do so. That was all that we had up until today, like I said, Sunday, January 19th. What is still outstanding is whether or not it was proper for the government to get those notes in that way. And Diddy and Agnifilo are asking for a lot of relief, and Alexandra Shapiro as well. They're asking for a lot of different versions of relief. They're asking for up to dismissal. They're asking for a different, separate, new filter team that's not connected with the prosecutor's office to come in. They're asking for possibly to have these prosecutors who did see those notes were accused. There's a lot still to be decided, but I did want to get us caught up through docket number 132. The next one we're going to be looking at, whatever it may be, is going to be docket number 133. So I will see you then. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Neither are opinions. Scar, love you. Okay, bye.
Wow. Fucking Diamond Rainbow and Simply Monica really pissed me off. Yeah, I'll see your voice in a bit.